Oh my goodness. Papyrus does not claim to own anything in this video, and we encourage you to check out the original works. Links are in the description, and content warnings, if any, are also in the description. Oh my goodness. Papyrus does not claim to own anything in this video, and we encourage you to check out the original works. Links are in the description, and content warnings, if any, are also in the description. Rain droplets pitter-pattered lightly atop my rattling bone umbrella as my partner and I walked these sleepy streets together. Fluffy black rain clouds floated above the city, some of the taller buildings actually piercing right through the cozy pillows. Just a few blocks away, a pair of spotlights danced across the soft sky, enticing any that might have laid eyes on it. There were even some Temmies that were working tirelessly on a construction job nearby, where an assortment of old yellowed posters peeled off the sides, detailing cafe openings, missing children, furniture selling, etc. Through all of that, a human child splished and splashed along the sidewalk across the street from us, clearly on his or her way home for the night, or at least I hoped so. Undyne refused an umbrella of her own, and for these occasions I didn't complain. A rare smile lit her face as the water sprinkled her scales. Her red hair was dark and sopping wet, along with her trench coat, but she seemed so comfortable with it all and so at ease. Instead of her usual cigarette, a friendly grin was held in her lips. Even out in this cold, damp weather, Undyne's warmth was infectious. That miraculous man-bot Metaton didn't leave us with many leads before he left. Luckily, my partner had a friend very close to our client that went by the name of Alpheus. Now, I'm not too privy to Undyne's relationships, as she is never one to talk about them, but from what I gather, they are probably romantically involved. Our destination was nearing. The spotlights in the sky grew larger and brighter, and the city itself was getting a bit gaudier with each step. Brightly colored neon lights began infesting the buildings now, as if they were an incurable plague. Billboards and posters alike advertised all across the streets, showing off opposing Metaton in his slim and sleek, now stolen, body. Late Night with Metaton, Metaton X Viewer, Metaton Channel 5 News, Metaton Channel 6 News, and a whole array of other such titles were plastered throughout. Fashion stores featuring the latest hip Metaton brand clothes strangely stayed dark and closed tonight. Perhaps the rainy nights kept the customers away from their usual shopping. At the center of it all was the famous MTT Studios. Brilliant gold archways depicting Metaton's splayed open legs stood over the entrance, his rump posed scandalously toward the viewer. Written on the glorious golden glute were the words MTT Studios. Undyne grimaced at the sight. Metaton certainly had some expensive tastes, I noted. A small human child scampered up the steps ahead of us happily, dashing through the doors up top. The two of us also made our way up a rather large flight of marble stairs, which were made quite dangerous by the rain's slipperiness. I, of course, made it to the top with only a few trips and falls. A great feat. Our trek complete, I shook the moisture off my stylishly bony umbrella and placed it inside one of my larger trench coat pockets for safekeeping. Undyne, however, preferred to stay dripping wet. The soothing rain no longer affected her here, her usual scowl creeping back to her lips. Like the gentleman that I am, I held open the exquisite diamond-encrusted doors for my partner. "Ladies first, nyah!" She eyed my fedora harshly and let out an ugh. My fashion sense must have made her jealous. So jealous that she actually kicked open another door instead of simply walking through my open one. If the buildings before here were gaudy, then the inside of MTT Studios was surely the god of God. My senses were overwhelmed by bright lights, catchy dance music, and screeching advertisements for Metaton brand cereal and the like. Beneath my slightly soggy boots, I stood upon a royal purple carpet with a pattern of different Metaton poses on each little square. Fancy. Now, while I may have enjoyed the colorful lights and the oomph of the techno bass pounding, Undyne looked like she was suffering. In an almost desperate attempt, her claws trembled as she scrambled through her trench coat, searching for a cure to her problems. Nearly dropping her treasure in haste, she ripped out a soggy cigarette and clipped her nails together, hoping with all her heart for a flame to appear. The once soothing water was now preventing her precious smoke. Extremely flustered and out of options, Undyne conjured up a green light spear that floated dangerously in the air above her cigarette. With an aggravated battle cry, the spear shot toward the rather disgusting thing, flying haphazardly into the glass doors behind and shattering at least a few of them. The cigarette was now completely aflame, like really on fire. I was about to warn Undyne, but she took in a big puff and let out a smoke-filled sigh, and I decided she probably knew what she was doing. She's only set a couple of buildings on fire that I can think of, anyway. What the heck is going on over there? A voice stammered in the distance, trying its best to be heard over the noise tornado that we had somehow entered. I couldn't see the mysterious stammerer, but I was quite trained in the art of yelling myself. "Ah, sorry! My partner just wanted to light one of her cancer sticks!" I audibly glared at her. "And she seems to have destroyed a few doors, some carpet, and oh, maybe a few other things. It's a good thing there's no fire detectors here, or else we might be a little bit more wet than usual, too!" "Oh God, please, just come over here!" The high-pitched whine of the voice actually reached us over all the hullabaloo. I shrugged and figured it was as good a lead as any. The two of us made our way toward the nasally mystery. Slam! Firmly shut behind us, the door blocked out the hurricane of noise from the main entryway. The sudden silence was quite awkward, mostly because our mysterious third-party stutterer was muttering and huffing things under her breath. "Thanks for getting us out of there, Alphys." Undyne sighed, a large cloud of black smoke exhaling from her mouth. The small lizard-like girl furrowed her eyebrows toward my partner and her still-burning, way-too-hot cigarette. I thought you said you quit! Undyne's sole eye went wide for a moment in realization. "Oh, geez, babe," she grumbled, tossing the flaming thing onto the floor. "You know how much I hate this place, so I couldn't help it is all." Wowee! I could never get Undyne to stop smoking. This girlfriend must be powerful indeed. "Not on the tile!" The mousy dinosaur's glasses fogged over as she became even more flustered. Her objection was too late, however, as my partner proceeded to stomp the fire out with her boot much too roughly. "Undyne!" While the two had their little lover's quarrel, I decided it prudent to study my surroundings. Possibly for clues. Some clues would be nice. Alphys herself looked to be quite tightly wound. Atop her dainty dino head lay a well-used headset. It appeared to be barking, or meowing? orders constantly into her ears, but she ignored it as if it were nothing more than the usual rain outside. Her attire was quite fashionable, if I do say so myself, but Undyne didn't approve with questions like,
"Does he really make you wear that? 20 pieces of flair?"
The outfit in question was a mix of bright purple and black overalls, absolutely covered with Metaton-themed pins and other doodads. One pin in particular on the outfit caught my eye socket's attention. It read, "Anime was a mistake. Metaton is the cure." It was absolutely covered in scratch marks and smudges, as if constantly getting taken on and off, or just getting a beating in general. With the bags under her eyes, my great intuition told me Alphys may have been quite overworked and maybe not quite so happy working here. I jotted down some notes on my notepad quickly while they were distracted. Undyne certainly wouldn't like it if she knew I might suspect her girlfriend, even in the slightest. The room in question was a bit of a pigsty, or I guess a dino-sty. Or a lizard-sty? What is Alphys, anyway? Bags of uncooked ramen littered the tables. Traces of the little noodles were scattered about the tile beneath. Such a wasted potential of possible pasta. Amidst the ramen, some tables were used simply to display her action figures. How cool! A Metaton figure stood lonesome far away from the rest, gathering dust. Wowee, most of these figures certainly had big heads and eyes, among other things. Her collection could even rival my own. I shook my skull. Focus! We could talk super cool figures after the case. Papers littered Alphys' work desk, some crumpled and dirtied, some kept in a much more pristine condition. Most of the papers depicted some slightly crude drawings of Metaton's stage body in all different costumes and sets, and with all sorts of different uses like ice cream compartments, microphones, heat-seeking missiles, extra cameras, chainsaws, etc. All standard Metaton stuff, really. You must work quite closely with Metaton's body, Miss Alphys, I stated pretty coolly, I must say. The nerdy dinosaur nearly jumped out of her skin at the statement, completely dropping her little spat with Undyne. "Well, yes, I created Metaton, after all," she sputtered, just a little bit more than usual. "We're good friends." Alphys looked away at the last part. Undyne huffed and grumbled sarcastically under her breath.
"Yeah, sure."
"We are!" Alphys insisted in a whiny tone, and just like that, they'd forgotten about me again, going into another little quarrel. My keen and handsome eye sockets brought me to another interesting point of interest. A large TV screen was tucked away in a corner of the room. The screen was split into quite a number of squares, each watching over sections and rooms of MTT Studios. One showed the front entrance where we had entered. Temmys clambered and vibrated over the broken doors and burnt carpet, cleaning up any mess my partner, had made. Strangely enough, the camera's focus wasn't on the entrance, but more so on a statue of Metaton's behind. In fact, almost every camera seemed to be more focused on statues or pictures of Metaton than the room themselves. "Miss Alphys, why aren't these security cameras watching the rooms they're in?" I asked, keeping a grizzled and mysterious gaze at the possible clues. Once again, the anime fanatic found herself startled. "Oh, well, Metaton said that the cameras can't help but watch him." She coughed and tried to give her best smile, even though he demanded the cameras be put like that. Interesting. I scribbled away on my notepad. So then the body thief wasn't caught on camera at all, I assume. No one saw them. A sigh escaped her lips, and Alphys looked down at the tile, defeated. "No, sorry. I wasn't here last night during the theft either. One of the Temmys working might have seen something, but well, they're Temmys." My partner tensed up at the mention of Temmys, and a brief flash of disdain appeared on her face, but instead chose to comfort her girlfriend. In an act of uncharacteristic gentleness, Undyne knelt down and placed an arm around Alfie's hunched shoulders. The nerdy female began to visibly heat up, sweat appearing all over her body. Aw, I felt bad for making Alfie feel bad, but I couldn't let down our client as much as Undyne might have disliked him. We promised, or at least I promised, that we'd do our best to find the culprit and bring the missing body back. I needed to ask the hard-hitting questions, or else what kind of detective was I? Something had been bothering me, too. It was best to get it out into the open. Couldn't you just make another body, Miss Alphys? Another sigh, but Undyne's touch seemed to give confidence to the little dino. Her eyes met my sockets now, although still faltering quite a bit, I must note. Well, yes, but you see, Metaton was quite close with that body, and, well, She looked nervously around the room. MTT Studios is kinda completely broke. Holy twist! My hat nearly fell off my skull. I was twisted so much. But the gold statues, the bright lights, the Timmy crew, all that fame, how? Alphys gave me another one of her sheepish smiles. Kinda answered your own question there. She finally broke down and began to desperately search through her overall pockets, much like Undyne did at the entrance. Grinning momentarily, she pulled out a small carton labeled Pocky and began nibbling the sticks almost frantically. Metaton isn't exactly good at spending his money wisely, as you can see. And the Timmys are actually an extremely cheap source of labor. Certainly not the best labor, but cheap nonetheless. Undyne's arm quickly left Alfie's shoulders.
Hey, I thought you said you quit,
she grumbled, glaring at the little chocolate-covered sticks. These aren't nearly as bad.
Fine, then give me one.
Undyne reached out for the Pocky impulsively. Alphys pulled the carton away defensively, hiding the box in her overall pockets again. No, they're mine! She screeched a bit too loudly. Ladies, please! You both clearly have problems putting gross sticks in your mouths. Alfie's eyes widened with shock at my deep words, and Undyne started to snicker uncontrollably like a 12-year-old for some reason.
I wouldn't say that,
she said between laughs. I don't understand why my words of wisdom were so funny to her, and frankly, it was kind of hurtful. The barking/meowing from Alfie's headset suddenly started getting louder, almost loud enough for me to hear, even. I cast my hurt feelings aside and tried my best to listen. Most of it sounded like gargled noise, but I heard one thing over and over.
The family!
What a strange thing to say. It seemed to be upsetting Alphys more than my questioning. Even around Undyne she was unable to control her shivers. The poor thing was so vulnerable, but I could not let the truth hide. What is the family, Miss Alphys? I inquired as politely as I could. The yellow color in her scales faded. Her eyes met mine with a look of utter and complete horror. Undyne desperately tried to console her girlfriend, but Alphys was unable to relax. Nothing! It's nothing! I just realized Her breathing was completely erratic. Her chest was heaving. I have work to do! I have to go! Now! Sorry! Undyne's eye was wide. I don't think even she had seen the little dino act like this.
Alphys, what?
Gotta go! Love you! Bye! Even in Alfie's haste, she wouldn't forget a kiss goodbye to her girlfriend.
Love you too,
Undyne had started to say absent-mindedly, but it was too late. I myself was feeling quite shocked as well at this point. Who or what was the family? Could it possibly be tied to the theft? If so, why wouldn't Alphys tell us? What could it be that she wouldn't even tell her own girlfriend? My partner and I stood in silence in the suddenly very lonely room, accompanied only by the buzzing of the fluorescent bulbs above. We exchanged worried glances toward one another. Do you have any idea what that was about? What the family means? Undyne frowned, her eyebrows furrowed.
No,
she stated bluntly, already reaching for a cigarette now that the coast was clear. My fishy partner growled puffs of black smoke through her teeth, irritated by the subject.
We can't get sidetracked, Paps. Let's question some possible witnesses about the theft.